Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Benavides, and this is week 2 check-in for Social Work 501 for fall of 2023. So this is your second week in the class, and I will be posting weekly check-in videos where I discuss the previous week's discussion posts, assignments. I clarify some things. I talk a little bit more about the topics from the previous week for the upcoming week. I talk about the that week's discussion posts, assignments, clarify or answer any questions that might have come to me via email from some of your classmates that could be relevant to everybody in the class. And generally, these check-in videos are quick, 15 minutes or so videos, just to check in with you all. And really the goal is to help you be as successful in the class as possible. So as you hopefully saw from my introduction video, I'm Dr. Benavides. I'm a faculty member here at Widener. I have been a faculty member in the Center for Social Work Education for the past 9 years. I'm an associate professor who teaches practice classes, the human behavior course, spirituality and social work elective, the grief and loss elective. I also teach in the undergrad program as well as being the BSW Club faculty advisor and do academic advising for the BSW students. So I have my hands in a lot of different places. And I am the lead for this course, and so I enjoy teaching this course very much. I enjoy working with all the other faculty and adjuncts that teach this course and finding ways to make this a stronger course. And so please send any ideas and feedback that you have my way about how to, your thoughts about this class. All right, so first of all, I enjoyed watching the week 1 icebreakers and getting to get to know each of you a little bit more. And so I like doing icebreakers at the beginnings of my class so that we can all put a face to a name and get to know each other a little bit better. And also it's, I think it's just a great way to get to know each other. Now, in terms of your week 1 discussion using frameworks in social work, you were asked to look at the biopsychosocial, the person and environment perspective, and the trauma-informed care perspective, and how each of those apply or how we use these in social work practice, and to specifically apply them to Anita and her children. Overall, I think you all did a great job in applying what you've learned from the readings and the videos from week 1 on these 3 different perspectives and applying them to Anita and her family. A couple things I want to point out that the trauma-informed perspective, the person environment, and the biopsychosocial are not interventions or theories per se. They're not theories and they're not interventions, but they're rather perspectives. They help us understand our clients. So they're not mutually exclusive, right? We don't have to think about, oh, if I use a trauma-informed lens, this is how I would do this. And if I use a person and environment perspective, I would do it this way. Rather, we want to think about it as these are all perspectives, such as the strengths perspective, the empowerment perspective, that we can utilize together to help us have a more holistic picture of our clients. And so we don't use them separately, we use them together. And a person doesn't have to have experienced trauma to use trauma-informed care perspective, right? Because we want to make sure that none of our actions cause trauma to our clients. And so the trauma-informed care, helps us to think about ways to not only re-traumatize clients that have been through trauma, but how not to traumatize the people we work with, right? So just you can use these together, and I encourage us to use these together. Think about them as more of perspectives that help us understand. They're sort of they help us have a, like I said, a more holistic understanding of the people that we're working with. So also the other thing I want to point out, a few of you mentioned that part of biopsychosocial is also addressing the spiritual and or religious beliefs and practices and traditions of our clients. And I want to give a shout out to all of you that did. I probably commented on your post and said, yay, because I am, my area of research focuses on spirituality. And I do believe that we tend to not address the spiritual and or religious needs of our clients because of fear of being accused of proselytizing or a fear of, you know, being biased without knowing we're being biased. There's a lot of fears around it. But when we don't understand and we don't give clients the opportunity to talk about um, their holistic, beliefs and practices, including their spiritual and or religious beliefs or practices, we're really doing them a disservice because we are a strength-based, profession. And for many people, their spiritual and or religious beliefs or practices are sources of strength for them. And it can be just as simple as in the assessment, asking a client, do you identify as spiritual? Do you identify as religious? And if the answer is no, we stop there. And if the answer is yes, then we can ask, would you like to incorporate your spiritual beliefs or practices into our work together? And the key thing here is that it is their beliefs, their traditions that is incorporated into the work, right? Not our own. So that's really important. And several of you talked about that. So great job. And so definitely I do teach there is a spiritual and social work elective that I'm actually teaching right now in the online program. I also teach it in the land-based program. But if you're interested in that in the future, that may be more knowing more about how to incorporate spirituality and or religion into your work with clients and how to work on understanding yourself, because that's really important, right? In social work, we're all about self-awareness, and we process, we reflect to make sure that we're being self-aware. And so if you're interested in that, that's a class that I encourage you to take, all right? Okay, so let's see. Many of you also, and I did address it, talked about about Anita's strengths, right? And Anita's strengths as a mother, as somebody that has come this far in her life, in spite of the traumatic experiences that she has experienced. The death of her mother by the hands of her father going to jail, her own history of abuse. So that's also really important. A lot of times we focus on what's going wrong and not the strengths that people bring. And I encourage each of you to really, when you're thinking about, when you're presented with a new case, when you're presented with a case file like Anita's and her children, look at it and not just look at what's going wrong or what are the struggles that the challenges that the client is facing, but the strengths, how far they've come, that they're even here. Anita has gone through so much, but there she is. She still brought her child, Anthony, because she felt like he needed somebody he needed help. So that's a strength, reaching out for help. So several of you talked about her strengths, and so I'm very appreciative of that. Keep up the good job. All right, so switching over to the annotated bibliography practice. I did make comments on everybody's discussion post, the week 1 discussion annotated bibliography practice. And so go back in there and look. You did not lose points if you didn't do the annotated bibliography right, because this whole purpose of this discussion post was really and the assignment was to really practice, practice completing an annotated bibliography. So points were deducted if you didn't complete the assignment as per assignment instructions, but not if you didn't quite do it right. That's okay. But I did provide guidance for you in some areas that I thought maybe could be improved upon. So one of the things is in your summary should really not be more than a paragraph. A lot of summaries were rather long, and so make sure that you are succinct in your summarizations of the article. So as I was looking over your week 1 annotated bibliography, several of you, one of the things that you talked about in terms of why this might have been difficult is not knowing what were the main points to cover, right? And so I responded to a few of you saying that what is the purpose, the main points of what you're going to include in the summary really relate more back to what were the main points of what you were trying, or the main points of why you chose this article for your purposes, right? So if you chose it because you were looking at more in terms of elderly than in terms of the theory that they use to address the elderly, then you would look more at talking more about that piece, right, versus the theoretical piece, if that makes sense. So really the main points are going to be more as it relates to your purposes for choosing this particular journal article to include in your annotated bibliography. In your critique, try and use third person. It's more professional. Instead of I think this, you could say something like the authors were biased in this way, not I think the authors were biased because. But your critique needs to talk about, did you think it was biased? Was it objective? Or was the information reliable? Was it useful? Was it helpful? Did it help? Does it help move forward our understanding of the topic? Those sort of things. I did put some, suggestions in there. And if I encourage you to look at the resources that were provided on annotated bibliographies, including this one, which is from the Purdue website. But I do encourage you to look through them again. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. If you would like to meet, let me know. If several people have more questions and would like to meet, I would be more than happy to do a sort of synchronous half an hour to an hour meeting for several students to come in and we can talk about annotated bibliographies more. Or so just let me know, okay? If you're interested, send me an email if you're interested in meeting with me. Okay, so this week there's 2 discussion posts, and the first one is a check-in older adult interview post, and really this is a check-in to see how you're progressing towards your older adult interview. At this point, hopefully you've identified who you're going to interview and have spoken to them, obtained both verbal and written consent. And so here, just answer the questions that are presented here. Who is your interviewee? Why was that person selected? Have you spoken with the interviewee and gotten verbal and signed permission? When will the interview take place? And do you anticipate any problems and or barriers? You do not have to respond to anybody here, but you're definitely encouraged to provide guidance to your classmates. This discussion post, like I said, you don't have to respond to anybody, but you are definitely encouraged to do so. The next discussion is the genogram activity. You're being asked to watch Mi Familia and to complete a genogram on draw a genogram with at least 2 generations represented on the Sanchez family. You're going to choose one family member that you feel that you have the most information about, and choose them for the